Hello, my name is Jaden. For once, I actually look presentable and I don't just wearing a loud jingly jacket. I'm not just wearing like a crappy hoodie. I actually look somewhat presentable today. This is how I look on a normal, everyday basis, by the way. You don't get to see this very often on my YouTube channel. You should more. I should put more effort into this. But yeah, anyway. My name is Jaden, and today we're getting controversial. I am going to be talking about books I wish I hadn't read. Because there are a couple. There aren't many, but there's a couple. I don't know what I just knocked over, but that's fine. Okay, number 1. Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. It's been a long time since I've read this book, so I don't remember much of it. So I might be misremembering it, but from what I do remember, I didn't like it. I don't understand the relationship. This kind of spoilers for the book I talk about in this video, by the way, just a heads up. But the relationship between Tiny and Will Grayson, one of the two of them, don't understand why it exists. I've only read this book once, and it was a very long time ago, so again, I might be misremembering some things, but one of the Will Graysons gets with the other one's friend Tiny, and for seemingly the reason of he just found out that his internet boyfriend, that Will Grayson had just found out that his internet boyfriend was a catfish. Tiny was the only other gay guy in the immediate vicinity. They had no reason to be together. They were completely... There was no chemistry there, so why were they together? And it sucks as well because that Will Grayson, I loved him so much. He was my favorite. He was my favorite character. He was so good, and then he just gets in this ridiculous relationship that just pissed me off to no end. And it will haunt me forever. I think about rereading it again just to see if I'm wrong and see if I'm remembering it wrong. But it sucked. But I can't bring myself to because it's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. Number 2, this is gonna be probably very controversial, but 1984 by George Orwell. I read that book for fun. I chose to read that book. I already knew that I hated Orwell's writing because I studied, I read Animal Farm in school and I had to study it. And it was so bad. It was terrible. But then I chose to read 1984 because people always say, oh, you have to read this book. It's like a compulsory read, so I read it, and it's not good. Went right over my head, the majority of it. The blatant sexism pissed me off. I get it's written in 1948, but still, so much sexism, hated it. There's that whole 20-page chapter where you're reading a book within a book that's just detailing politics. That's just detailing fictional politics of a fictional place, but it's a very heavy-handed metaphor for real-life politics at the time. I hated it. I just couldn't stand it, but I powered through and I read the whole thing and then pretended I liked it for a year. No, I can't stand that book, and I wish I could purge what little of it I remember from my brain, because it's just... Oh, no. Again, another one that I'm thinking of reading it again, just to see if I understand it better the second time, but I don't want to, because I just hate it. I just forcing myself to do things I don't like. Next up, we have The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. Now, I never actually finished this book. The main reason is that this is one that I keep telling myself I'm going to reread again, and I just haven't yet, because it's a very thick book. But the main reason why I didn't finish it, and the reason why I kind of wish I hadn't tried to read it in the first place, is because the main character of that book can't read or write. Meaning that there are things that are spelt wrong. Like, there are things within the text that are deliberately spelt wrong because it's told from the perspective of a character that can't read or write. Which is a cool idea. It's a great concept. Unfortunately, I'm dyslexic and therefore I struggle to read to begin with. But when things are deliberately misspelt, can't do it. Can't do it. Hate it. It sucks. So, yeah, I love the concept. I love the concept so much. I want to try and read it again, but again, it's a really thick book as well. I mainly picked it up instead of reading it for the aesthetic as well, and for like the cool overlapping like handwritten text thing. It looks so cool, and I was like, I want to see how that works, but like, just no, it just didn't work out like that. I want to give it another try, but it's hard. And finally, I think this is the fourth one. The fourth one, yeah. But we're going to count Animal Farm as well, so 5 is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Now, the main reason why I wish I hadn't read this book is because I mainly picked it up because I thought it was on an LGBT plus list on Goodreads. So I thought it was going to be like a, I thought it was going to have a gay character. That's cool, No. No. Again, spoiler. Big spoiler for this book. But, basically, this book is girl gets married, like an arranged marriage deal, like, I think, it's been a while since I've read it, it's been like a year since I've read it now. And I don't own it anymore, so. But yeah, so, girl gets like an arranged marriage to this man, he's like really distant, he doesn't really seem to like her very much. She gets miniatures for a dollhouse, it's a whole thing. But the gay character plot is that the man that she's married to, she goes to visit him, he's having an affair with another man. She agrees to keep it a secret, blah blah blah. I think it's like his sister knows about it, and just like it's a secret, don't tell anyone. The police find out, he ends up getting sentenced to death for being gay. Don't do that. Like, write that story, sure, but don't put it in a list of LGBT representation books. Stop doing that. Stop putting books where that happens in lists of LGBT books. Because that's not nice. That's not fun to read. That is sad. If you're going into a book expecting happy fun, like expecting like to have a gay character in a book, and that ends up being that it's a man in a heterosexual relationship having an affair with another man who then gets murdered for it, don't do that. Don't put that in an LGBT book list. Or do, but specify it. Like put it in a specific kind of list, because I don't want to read that. And also just generally the plot wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like the actual miniatures part, the actual part with the miniatures was like the tiniest fraction of that plot. Again, all these were read a long time ago, so it's possible that I'm just misremembering certain things, but still, they're books I didn't like and I wish I hadn't read. So yeah, that's the whole list. I'm salty now, I am like heated. Because I genuinely, so many of those just anger me. But yeah, it's like, again, you can kill off your gay characters. Like, one of my favourite books that I read this year, one of my favourite books ever, is They Both Die at the End. that's LGBT book where both the characters die, but also you know going into it that they're both gonna die. But yeah, so that's my list of books I wish I hadn't read. I'm salty now. This is kind of a good vent video. But yeah, that was day 10 of VIDmas. I'm probably going to start pre-recording videos now as well, so if you see this same outfit a lot, that's why. Also, I repeat outfits all the time, so as you can probably tell from the last 9 videos.